Hey guys, this is Jebediah, and I'm going to show you a quick tutorial on UV unwrapping and how to edit the UV image that you're going to make and then be able to apply that back to your object so you can paint your cool objects, make them look however you want. So we're going to start in Blender, and as you can see we just have the default cube. We're actually going to delete that, and the reason why is because, well, I guess I shouldn't have deleted it first, but I'll show you in just a second. So on that object, it came already with material and with the texture. And I find it easier just to delete that and to make a new one. So with that said, it's just easier if you make a new object than to use the default one. Anyway, so I'm just going to make a cylinder. And then we're going to go to edit mode. You can also just hit tab. And vertex selection mode, go to shading UVs, and we're going to mark seams. So I'm going to select this face, and this will select this whole area as a seam, and this whole area as a seam. So we're going to mark seam, and then I'm also going to select this side here and mark seam. So what this will do is when we create our UV image, it'll have a flat circle here, and then from here all the way around, it'll make this long rectangle so that everything's nice and even and not oddly shaped. So then to unwrap that, first let's drag our screen down. We want another screen. Straight down, there we go. We're going to go over to here and change this to UV image editor. So now we can see the little UV image thing. So make sure this is all selected. Hit A to select it, and then we're going to go back to that UV tab and unwrap. So you can see what I was talking about here. In the UV image, we've got those two flat circles here, and this nice long rectangle that we can edit. So let me show you real quick what would happen if you did it differently, if you made your selection, your UV selection a little bit different. So I'm going to clear these seams and then select them kind of a weird way here. Alright, so as you can see I have this half this face selected. So this is all going to be one part, and then this will be one part. So this will show up in two different images on here. So let's mark seam, and let's go ahead and select all of it and unwrap. So now you can see the way that we selected this, the top circles, they're not really perfect circles. They're kind of get a little bit smashed on the edges. And then instead of these being nice 90-degree angles, they're all slanted. And so what will happen is when you go to put in your design, your pattern, whatever you're going to do, it'll get skewed in the edges here, and it'll look kind of blurred or smudged or whatever. So when you have a really complicated object that's not just a nice cylinder, you have to take into account the shape of it and what it's going to end up looking like. And I'll give you an example later of some complicated objects I've made. Well, let's go ahead and undo this. I'm going to do it the right way again. And mark seam. Select that edge and mark seam. Select it all and unwrap. Alright, so now what we can also do here is we can you want to do island select mode to select the whole area. I'm going to scale this up just a little. Whoa. Just like that. just get it to fit in the area there. So now I can take up a larger area of this image, so that way I can get a bit more detailed, to have more pixels within the area. So all the area that's not inside here, this you can color whatever you want in here, and it won't change anything. So this will be one of these at the top and the bottom, and then this is the whole side. So now we have this all selected. We're going to go to UVs, click on that, and export UV layout. And let's just call this cylinder texture. Save as a PNG. And before we save it, so we want to make sure our size is 1024 by 1024. You can change that depending on how high quality you want the image to be. Then fill opacity, you want that to be 0. And then we're going to export this. Alright, so it's exported, so now we can go into our GIMP or Photoshop, whatever you use. You go to File, open that file, and it should be cylinder texture. We're going to open it up. The reason why we wanted to set the opacity to 0 in Blender was so that this doesn't come up opaque. It's just the lines, just the outline. So now it might be difficult to see. The lines are really thin. But what we're going to do, we're just going to, now we can paint this. Do whatever you want, whatever design or pattern you want to do. I'm just going to do something just real simple. Do that, and then same thing here. And then for the middle of the cylinder, let's do something. There we go. Alright, so let's see how this turned out. Now you notice I left the outlines, so those will show up on our final product. And you can see there's some edges in here. I'd want to clean this up if I was making something nice, so you don't get any transparent areas that'll look weird on your final object. We're going to go ahead and export this now, and let's call this cylinder texture 0. Also, something, and the reason why we're saving this as cylinder texture 0 is so it doesn't copy over the original, so that way I can go in and I can make a new one. So if I want to make this maybe look wood, so like a barrel, or metal, like a 55-gallon drum, something like that, I can do that later without having to go through the whole process in Blender. So let's export this. Alright. And now let's go back into Blender. And so now, like I was talking about earlier, this doesn't have a material, so let's go ahead and make a new material. Actually, first let's save it. Should have done that first. So cylinder.blend and save. Alright, so let's go to that material, make a new material, and then let's go to texture, make a new texture. And then down here under image, you can go to open. We're going to put that, where did we go here? Cylinder texture 0. So we're just going to open that. So it opened up over here nicely. So what we're going to do is go from edit mode in this top window to texture paint mode. And here's the final product. Here's what we made. So you can make this whatever you wanted. You could put in a cool design on top to make it look like the top of an oil drum or something, like with a cap and whatever, or rings around the sides. Whatever you want to do. So you can kind of see, and that worked pretty simple. So then you can go ahead and go to File and export as a .fbx or a .obj, depending on what file you want to use.